The warrant has properly been posted, so I officially call this special town meeting to order. I guess we can put to rest the myth of the American apathetic voter. At the risk of missing and offending someone, it took a lot of people to get this meeting together, so I'm going to thank Town Clerk Dottie Powers and her staff, including Patty, the Finance and Warrant Commission for acting so quickly and getting the report out on time, Town Administrator's Office, particularly Tish Healy, Molly Fitzpatrick, and Amanda Wolf, the facility staff in setting up the auditorium for this evening, Charlotte Lynch and the Westwood Media Center, Town Council Pat Ahern, and the Assistant Town Moderators, Paul Fitzgerald and Mary Macy Phelps. I'm going to read the town meeting invocation. We have come together in civil assembly as a community in a tradition that is older than the Commonwealth itself. We come together to make decisions about our community. As we deliberate, let us advocate for our positions, but not at the expense of others. Let us remember that there is an immense gap between saying, I am right, and saying, I believe I am right. And that our neighbors with whom we disagree are good people with hopes and dreams as true and as high as ours. And let us always remember that in the end, caring for each other in this community is of far greater importance than any difference that we may have. So, ready to get started.
Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance first. We're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance, and we're going to call up Julia Drainville, Ricky Bryant, Elle Jonick, and Hunter Gusty. Go ahead, you can start.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, girls.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do to get started tonight, we'll welcome everybody and thank you for patiently waiting in the lines. Appreciate it. We're going to start with information about electronic voting. Everybody should have received a clicker when you came in. There's a couple other housekeeping issues. Seating and hearing devices. So the visitor seating is located in the designated area in the back right, along the aisles. There's accessible seating also. It looks like everybody has found, anybody that needed any type of special seating was able to find one. And there's hearing devices that are available if anybody else needs one. We have them out at the check-in counter. I hope anybody that did has already asked for them. You have all received an electronic voting device upon check-in. These keypads are reliable radio frequency and they're secure. If you're asked to vote electronically, please select either yes or no. So your yes button is green and your no button is red. And that will cast your vote. Now, when you leave the building tonight, you have to leave your keypad with you. It's not going to open your garage door or do anything funky like that. So we need to keep those here. When it's time to vote, you're going to press the button with the number that corresponds with the vote that you wish to cast. So 1A, again, that's green, is yes. 2B is red, no. You will have 30 seconds to cast your vote. The vote will be submitted, sent automatically, and confirmed by showing OK on the display after each vote. There's no need to press send. When is the vote counted? Only respond when the vote is open. OK will appear on the keypad display, confirming receipt of the vote. If you're not sure, vote again during the 30-second allotment until the voting for that article is closed. You may correct your previous vote, but only your last vote will count. Recorded results will appear on the large overhead screens. We're going to have a little fun right now, and we're going to test your clickers. And it is going to work this time, I promise. Is this your first Westwood special town meeting? We're going to open the vote, and using your keypad, press 1A, the green button, yes, or if you've never been to a special town meeting, this is your first one, 2B, that's red, and that's no. So let's see, our vote is open, 30 seconds. What? What's wrong?
Yes, if it's your first town meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, if it's your first town meeting. No, if it's not. Sorry about that. Go ahead, do it again. We'll give you time.
You all passed the first test.
That's good, and our numbers are good. That's reflective of the number of people that have checked in. So let's hope everybody that has a device, please vote.
Is everybody satisfied the vote's been tallied?
Has everybody? Okay, so we can close the vote. And so 447 new, 332 new voters, sorry.
Can everybody see these numbers in the back? Yes. Okay, great.
So welcome to all you newbies. And we're going to do another one, the next question. Will the New England Patriots win the Super Bowl? Okay. 1A for if you think they are going to win the Super Bowl, and 2B for no, they're not going to win the Super Bowl. So voting is open.
Some abstentions.
Yes. Is everybody voting? Come on. Come on, press the button. It's fun.
Is everybody satisfied the vote is tallied?
It's still going. Didn't go through? Who's saying that? Should we check that, Peter? Yeah, we're going to come and check that. We want to make sure that everybody's is working. So Peter's going to come up and check.
Is that the only one? Do we have one up here? Peter, we have. You satisfied now?
Do you want to read that? You'll start.
You want to do that? Do you want me to?
It's up to you.
You can do it.
Okay.
Peter, there's one more up.
With such a large crowd, it's good that we can troubleshoot. We want everybody to have an opportunity to vote and have your vote count.
Far right corner. Top row, last one, second last row. It's pretty good, it's only 3, 2.
That's good. They were all checked earlier today, too, I saw. And sometimes it's the way somebody's pressing it.
Is there somebody else over here?
While we're waiting for these problems to be rectified, I'm just going to go through some town meeting safety. For everyone's safety, please keep all aisles and pathways clear at all times. Sitting or standing in aisles or in front of exits is not permitted. All exits must remain unobstructed and are located in the 4 corners of the gym. Please take a moment now to identify the exit closest to you. Remember, the nearest exit may not be the door you entered through. In the event of an emergency or if the fire alarm sounds, all attendees must evacuate the building immediately. Please do not re-enter the building until instructed to do so by public safety personnel. Members of the Westwood Police and Fire Department are on site throughout town meeting and are available if you need any assistance. Just be sure to leave your clickers.
Peter? Open the bleachers on the other side.
Go back to that voting page. So far we've got 744 that have voted. Are we all good? Okay, great. Okay.
Drum roll.
Okay, let's see. Are the Patriots going to win the Super Bowl? Ta-da! Yes. Woohoo! Okay, I'm going to now give the moderator the speaker. Thank you.
All right, go on to the next slide.
Yes.
Can we go to the next one? Who's got the, okay. This is an open town meeting. This is Westwood's legislative body. The rules are run, it's a parliamentary proceeding. It's a 400-year-old system of governance. The very first town meeting was held in Dorchester in 1630. Our rules are governed by the Massachusetts General Laws, the Westwood Charter, the Westwood Bylaws, and town meeting time. Go to the next one. And we'll go on to the next one. When you get up to speak, and we're going to do things a little differently, because it's a unique town meeting, we only have really one issue with 4 articles. I've allowed some accommodation to the proponent of the bill, the lead petitioner, as well as the opposite side. So I'm going to ask, first, Erin Sibley is the lead petitioner. She's going to get a chance to speak for 15 minutes, and she's going to speak from the podium. After that, Mary Ann LeBlanc is going to speak in opposition. She's going to get 15 minutes from the podium. Then I want anyone who wishes to speak to line up at either one of these microphones. If you're going to argue in favor of the article, or on Erin's side, I want you to line up on this side. If you're arguing against the articles, or on Mary Ann's side, I want you to line up on this side. And we're going to go back and forth, left and right, just to make sure, first, we don't have wrestling matches over the microphones, and second, both sides get an equal number of speakers. On the off chance there's one of you or two of you in the audience who haven't made up your mind yet, and you have a question, then stand up, and we've got runners. The girls back there, they'll get you a microphone. After about the 6th or 8th speaker, if there are questions, I'll give you a chance to ask your question. So you won't have to wait in line, but it's got to be a legitimate question. It's got to be something geared towards eliciting information. If I think you're arguing one side or the other, I'm going to rule you out of order. Do not start speaking until I recognize you. Aaron and Marianne are each going to get 15 minutes. All the other speakers are going to get 3 minutes. We go on to another slide. When you speak, state your name and your street address. The town charter says you have to avoid personalities, so you can't say, I'm voting for or against this article because Jim O'Sullivan is in favor or against it, and he's a lawyer and we shouldn't trust lawyers. That'll be a personality. You can't say that. Speak on the issue, and all the remarks should be addressed to the moderator. We can't have a debate going back and forth. Speak to the moderator, and there'll be a timer on the screen when you get up to speak. You'll see the 3 minutes, and it'll count down. As soon as we get down to 0, the microphone's going to shut off, and we'll go to the next one. Okay, next slide. They ask you to be respectful. Do we have the gavel? So as always, I don't want people criticizing, booing, clapping, hissing, cheering. That's just an intimidating tactic. We're not going to allow it. I don't want people holding up their cell phones and videotaping speakers. That's also intimidating. This meeting is being recorded. If you want to see tomorrow what people say tonight, you'll be able to turn on Westwood Media Center and you'll be able to see it. If I bang the gavel, please stop speaking. Next slide. Most of the votes are going to be by electronic vote. There's no challenging the electronic vote. I've got a couple of preliminary motions I'll take a voice vote on. I don't anticipate any opposition, but if 7 people challenge my interpretation of the vote, they can stand up, and then we'll go to an electronic vote. But I don't anticipate that. Next slide, please. So these are the preliminary motions. I entertain a motion to waive the reading of the warrant. Is there such a motion? Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor of waiving the reading of the warrant, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Appears to be a unanimous vote. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading of the articles. Is there such a motion? I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Appears to be a majority vote in favor. It is a majority vote in favor. Is there a motion to permit non-resident town employees to address town meeting on particular aspects of certain articles? Is there a second? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Appears to be a majority vote in favor. It is a majority vote in favor. I'd entertain a motion that we conclude town meeting by 10:45, but giving me discretion to extend it longer if I think we can complete in one evening and not come back a second evening. Is there such a motion? Second? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. It's a unanimous vote in favor. If we do have to have a second meeting, we have to come back another night, we're going to do it on Wednesday. Next slide. We have 4 articles, and they all come before you on the recommendation of the Finance and Warrant Commission. In all 4 articles, FinCom is recommending indefinite postponement. So we have 2 slides explaining what indefinite postponement means. So FinCom is recommending at town meeting take no action on the underlying article. So we have to have a vote on whether the article should be indefinitely postponed or not. Indefinite postponement requires a majority vote. So if you are against the article in question, then you want to vote for indefinite postponement. If you're in favor of the article in question, you want to vote against indefinite postponement. Another way, let's go on to the next slide. So when you get up and it's time to vote, the first motion is indefinite postponement. If you are against the article, and we're going to show these again before we actually vote, you would vote yes to support indefinite postponement. If indefinite postponement passes, the article is dead. There's no further discussion. If indefinite postponement fails, then someone needs to make a motion to take a positive action on the underlying article. That needs to be seconded, and then we can discuss the article. Everybody understand indefinite postponement? We'll show these slides again before we're ready to take a vote. Next slide. There's also something called a motion for reconsideration. It can only be made once under the town charter. It can only be made tonight. Reconsideration requires a 2/3 vote. If after a vote, town meeting votes to reconsider and gets 2/3 vote, then we have more debate and have another vote. If reconsideration fails, the article is officially dead. And don't forget, as Dottie says, can't use these devices at home. Make sure everybody turns them in. So I think we're ready to get started. So first up is going to be Erin Sibley. She's going to come to the podium. She's going to have 15 minutes, and everybody's going to see the timer once she gets started.
Good evening. My name is Erin Sibley, and I am the sponsor of the citizens petition which led to this special town meeting. I would like to thank the many residents who collected signatures for our petition and the many who signed it. Because of you, we are all here tonight. I also want to thank all of you for being here. Civic engagement is essential to the functioning of our healthy democracy, and every voice is important. I am part of a group of residents who organized ourselves about 8 weeks ago for the purpose of calling this meeting. Many of us had never met. None of us are affiliated with the Westwood Land Trust. As an aside, this has been a wild 8 weeks. I have met many new people and connected with old friends. I've also learned a tremendous amount about how our town government works. I had planned to share some of that learning with you tonight, but all of my slides, which pertained to transparency, accountability, and our elected officials, were ruled out of order by Jim, including my title slide. So I will proceed to deliver my remarks like Abraham Lincoln in the Gettysburg Address. Our little group includes longtime residents and relative newcomers. Some have young children at home, and some are retirees. We represented every neighborhood in this town. We distributed almost 4,000 of these little guys in 1 week, this past week. I am a private citizen who has spent the last 20 years raising my family in Westwood. I have never been particularly engaged in matters of local government. Obviously, this has changed. I've lately realized that our democracy requires not only our active participation, but also our vigilant protection. The warrant articles being voted on tonight all relate to the town's lawsuit against the Land Trust regarding future use of our public land. Most residents in Westwood do not have a personal stake in the lawsuit, I don't, but its cost and its outcome will affect all of us. Some have framed tonight's votes as us versus the bean farm or conservation versus agriculture. This is wrong. It is an attempt to divide our residents and distract us from the real issues, which are bigger and more important. The bean farm is a private, for-profit business. They have every right to advocate for their business interests. The farm has a long-running dispute with the Land Trust regarding the use of certain public land. The Land Trust is an independent, nonprofit public charity whose purpose is to conserve undeveloped open space and natural resources for all current and future generations of Westwood residents. This is not about that. Tonight's meeting is about how our town government operates and who it serves. Tonight, we have the opportunity to stand up for the democratic principles of transparency and accountability. But let me back up. In Westwood, we have 2 branches of government. This town meeting is the legislature, and the select board is the executive branch. The Select Board has broad executive powers. It manages a large municipal budget, the town administrator, town council, and staff, all funded by the taxpayers. They also represent us. It is their job to steward our public funds, our public lands, and our public trust. It is their job to be transparent by alerting the community before they make impactful or controversial decisions on our behalf, and by soliciting and considering community input when making these decisions. It is their job to be accountable to us by publicly explaining the choices they've made and why they've made them. It is their job to advance the interest of our community as a whole and not any one private business. When they fail to do their job, our usual recourse is to vote them out. Fortunately, Massachusetts law provides a tool, the citizen's petition, for use in exceptional situations where more urgent action is required. We called this emergency legislative session because we felt that the Select Board's decision with respect to the lawsuit and its refusals to explain them were destructive to our community and that public input was needed immediately. Tonight's meeting cost money, and we did not undertake it lightly. It should not have been necessary. It was an option of last resort, which we pursued only after exhausting every other avenue to engage in good faith with our Select Board to understand why it was pursuing the lawsuit and how the lawsuit was serving our collective best interests. The Select Board has established a pattern of excluding public input until after decisions have already been made, and of then refusing to address legitimate public questions and concerns afterwards. This way of operating causes unnecessary conflict and is not good for our community. I could stop here. We are here because of the lack of transparency and accountability. But for the benefit of voters who, like me, tend to learn issues in real time at town meeting, I'd like to use some of my time to share important background information. To understand the warrant articles, it's important to understand the lawsuit. The public land in dispute is about a piece of 28 acres of wetlands, forests, and open fields on 665 Clappertree Street. The town is owned by all of us, the town of Westwood. The land trust holds a conservation restriction, or CR, on the land. The parties to the lawsuit are the town of Westwood, through its Select Board, and the land trust. About 25 years ago, private donors purchased the land at their own expense to prevent it from being developed. They granted a CR over the land in favor of the land trust, in perpetuity and exclusively for conservation purposes, which included preserving the land in its natural state and protecting the natural habitat which it provides and the views that it offers. Shortly thereafter, the land was given to the town. About 15 years later, the bean farm, which abuts the land, approached the town to see if it could lease some of it to expand its agricultural operations. Because of the CR, such a lease would require the permission of the land trust. For about 9 years, the farm repeatedly sought this permission, which the land trust consistently denied. In March of 2024, the town wrote a letter formally requesting the land trust permission to lease the land for agricultural use. The land trust determined it could not approve this use because it would conflict with and materially impair the purposes of the CR. For over a year, the town unsuccessfully pressured the land trust to change its decision. But eventually, in July of 2025, the town filed a lawsuit seeking a court's permission to lease the land for agricultural use over the objections of the land trust. In August of 2025, the original donors, aware of the escalating dispute, offered to repurchase the land from the town, for $475,000. The Select Board rejected this offer. Most of us did not know or have any reason to know that this was going on behind closed doors until around September, October of last year when we began to see yard signs popping up around town. Since then, we have had trouble with the Select Board, who's refused to directly respond to public inquiry since these decisions became public. There's been a lot of confusion about the CR in this case. A CR is more than an agreement or a contract. It is a real property interest, and it permanently restricts the rights otherwise held by a landowner. A CR is typically held by a charitable organization in order to make disinterested decisions with respect to land to achieve certain conservation purposes for the benefit of all of us. The holder of the CR has not only the right, but the obligation to enforce the term of the CR against anyone and everyone, including the landowner. Each CR must be read in its entirety and interpreted in a way which serves its stated conservation purposes. No single sentence or phrase has any meaning on its own. In this case, the Land Trust found that the proposed use would be detrimental to the land and the conservation values that the CR was meant to protect, and gave the town many specific reasons for its finding. Two last things about the CR. First, if the interpretation of a document is unclear, the courts will look to the intent of the parties to the agreement. The intentions of anyone who is not a party to the agreement are not legally relevant. The parties to the CR in this case were the donors and the Land Trust. In this case, the donors have clearly stated that it was never their intent that the land be used for a commercial farm operation. Informed citizen engagement is essential to the integrity of our government, and the Select Board has refused to respond to public inquiry since the lawsuit and the donor's offer became public. We called this meeting because we believe that the Select Board actions and motivations deserve honest and transparent public discussion. The most important of these questions is why. Why does the town want to convert this public land to agricultural use? Why now? What are the projected benefits to the town? Why did the town reject the donor's offer to buy the land for $475,000? We called this special town meeting due to an alarming lack of transparency and accountability. Our warrant articles are an opportunity for Westwood residents to make your voices heard and to ask the Select Board to take no further action with respect to this public land until there is a transparent public discussion. With respect to our warrant articles, the town meeting cannot legally command or control the Select Board in the exercise of its executive duties. Thus, our articles, if approved, are not binding in nature. Nevertheless, they are an important way for us to tell our Select Board how we feel about its lawsuit against the Land Trust. On January 13, the FinCom held a public hearing and voted on its official recommendations. These recommendations are only advisory, and discussion at the FinCom meeting seemed very hung up on the fact that these articles were not binding and not on the underlying subject matter. The final power to decide on these town matters rests with all of you. If you would like to vote for or against our articles, first you must vote against the motions for indefinite postponement. A yes vote on indefinite postponement will prevent further public discussion and action with respect to the town's lawsuit against the Land Trust. And a no vote to indefinite postponement will allow further public discussion and collect resident input with respect to the lawsuit. Article 1, that's it. Do I go to Article 1? So Article 1 is to see if the town will vote to recommend that the Select Board, Town Council, or any duly authorized town official will immediately withdraw, discontinue, and cease to further pursue the town's current lawsuit against the Westwood Land Trust. This warrant article is intended to express the opinion of residents with respect to the town's lawsuit against the Land Trust. Vote yes if you oppose the town lawsuit against the Land Trust and want the Select Board to drop it. Thank you.
Please, no clapping, no hissing, no booing. Ms. LeBlanc will be next.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, everyone. Mary Ann LeBlanc Cummings, 4 Chickadee Lane. Thank you all for being here tonight. A few months ago, when I brought my dad his morning Boston Globe when he was in the hospital, I came across this full-page ad by the TED Democracy Project, and I saved it because it struck me that this is what we aspire to in local government. It's dated September 17th, 2025, and it reads as follows. Dear Democracy, we the people have been unfair to you, pointing fingers at you when things don't go our way, placing the blame on you when we feel our voices haven't been heard. But you are not some distant concept in charge of our destiny. You are a reflection of our collective choices, thoughts, feelings, hopes, and dreams. Your success or failure lies in our hands and rests on our voices. It is our civic duty to engage in constructive dialogue, to educate ourselves and others, and to advocate for the principles we hold dear. You are at your best when we are at our best. When we put all sides aside, actively participate, and find common ground. This is my hope for tonight, that we bring our best selves to this discussion, because respectful dialogue is the foundation of a healthy democracy. The petitioner has exercised her rights under our town charter, and regardless of your view on the petition articles, we must respect her exercise of those rights and our democratic process. In running for the Select Board, I knew that in making decisions in this position, that might sometimes lead to some personal affronts. But in recent days, we have seen a number of troubling personal attacks on private citizens involved in this issue. And I urge that all such attacks stop, as they are disrespectful and they will only sow seeds of division and muddle discussion. We need to actively listen to one another and work together for the good of this town. Before us tonight is not the issue of whether Prout Farm should remain a meadow or whether it should be farmed. We are not here to parse the terms of the CR. Rather, we are here on the petitioner's articles, which seek, as you just saw, a recommendation that the town cease to pursue the declaratory judgment action currently pending in Norfolk Superior Court, a recommendation that the town cease to spend any additional funds on the litigation, that the town provide an accounting of the litigation expenses, and a recommendation that no further strategic or legal action be taken until an open in-person meeting is held to discuss this matter. While the Select Board has issued a number of statements regarding the Prout Farm legal action, I have listened to further questions in our Select Board meetings and the recent FinCom hearing, and with my allotted time, I will do my best to answer them. First, as to the question of legal expenses, I asked for a further update and have been advised that the town to date has paid $13,785 in legal fees, has incurred another $1,425 in fees, with total legal fees expended to date in the amount of $15,300. Second, as to the question of how and why this legal action was filed, I must first provide some history, because therein lies the answer. On April 6, 2001, as you've heard, the Prout Farm parcel was conveyed to the town of Westwood by the Westwood Preservation Society, the precursor to the Westwood Land Trust, encumbered by a conservation restriction, or CR, which is a legally binding agreement which restricts the use of the land and which follows the land in perpetuity. The CR on Prout Farm provides, as one of its primary purposes, the conservation of prime agricultural soils, and also provides that agricultural activity may be conducted with the consent of the holder of the CR, now the Westwood Land Trust, which consent may not be unreasonably withheld without a showing that the proposed activity would materially impair the purposes of the CR. In the fall of 2023, the Bean family, which owns the Bean Farm adjacent to Prout Farm, came to the town explaining their desire to lease the Prout Farm land, which they had been maintaining on behalf of the town for years, so that their family farm would be sustainable and they would not otherwise need to sell their open space for development. We invited the Beans and the Land Trust to a Select Board meeting in October of 2023. The Land Trust informed us that they had engaged a consultant to investigate the allowance of farming on the parcel, approximately 8 acres of open land on the property, and it was agreed that the Land Trust would get back to us with the result of their consultant's report. The Select Board then referred the matter to Westwood's Conservation Commission, which has custody and control of that land, to see if they had any interest in allowing farming on Prout Farm. The Select Board met again with representatives of the Land Trust in December of 2023, along with their consultant, who provided a preliminary report as his work was not yet done. On January 10, 2024, the Conservation Commission, or CONCOM, voted to allow the previously cleared portion of the Prout Farm to be used for agriculture within the meaning of the CR and with appropriate delineation as to wetlands. At the end of January 2024, representatives of the Land Trust, the Bean Farm, and the Select Board met and had a collaborative discussion in which the Land Trust suggested possible ways to allow for farming on the land, including no-till farming. These discussions continued for a period of time. On March 5th, 2024, CONCOM made a formal proposal to the Land Trust to allow agricultural use of Prout Farm. By early April of 2024, the Land Trust received its consultant's report and advised the town that all further discussions would need to go through its attorney. By letter from the Land Trust attorney dated April 3rd, 2024, the Land Trust rejected CONCOM's proposal based on the report of its consultant and stated that if the town did not withdraw its request, the Land Trust would take legal action against the town. Based on that response, the Select Board met in executive session on April 16, 2024 to discuss this threat of potential litigation pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, which allows a public body to meet in executive session to discuss strategy with respect to potential litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body. In going into executive session that night and on every occasion thereafter at which this issue was discussed, we cited the statutory provision which allowed us to do so, and we further identified that we'd be discussing potential litigation with respect to Prout Farm at 665 Clappertree Street. On April 18th, 2024, the town formally requested that the Land Trust provide its consultant's report so we could determine whether or not the town's proposal could be revised to address whatever objections were identified. On May 20, 2024, the Land Trust denied the town's request for the report and declined to provide details about it. On May 28th, the Select Board again met in executive session, and on May 30, the town reiterated its request that the Land Trust produce their report and suggested mediation. On June 6th, the Land Trust denied those requests. On June 26th, the town reiterated its request in writing that the Land Trust participate in mediation. On July 16th, the Land Trust denied that report. On August 19th of 2024, the Select Board met again in executive session on this issue, and on August 29th, the town reiterated its request that the Land Trust resolve the issue with them and introduce the concept of community farming on the parcel. On September 3rd, the Land Trust denied that request. On September 30, 2024, the Select Board again met in executive session on this issue, and on October 8th, 2024, the town asked the Land Trust in writing under what terms and conditions would they allow the town to exercise the agricultural exemption. On November 11th, 2024, the Land Trust responded to the town stating that it cannot consent to an agricultural use on any part of the restricted land. The Select Board met again to discuss this in executive session in December, January, and then June of 2025. At this point, the board concluded that it had exhausted its options in trying to work with the Land Trust's attorney. We were left with a choice of giving up the town's rights to the land or asking the court to decide them, which was the step of last resort. We decided that we had a duty not to give up the property rights of the town, that we needed to be able to rely upon exceptions carved out in conservation restrictions on town property. It was not a decision that we made lightly or quickly. On advice of counsel, we decided to file a declaratory judgment action, or DEC action, in which we asked the court to define the town's rights in this matter. DEC actions are used to resolve legal uncertainties when there is a dispute, so as to prevent unnecessary, full-blown litigation. I want to pause here, as I have heard some people ask, why are you putting the interests of one business before those of the whole town? Let me answer that by saying that the board did not take this action in order to elevate the rights of one individual or one family above others. Our calculus has been, as it always must be, what is in the best interest of the town. We are now dealing with what we believe and have been advised is a violation of the town's property rights. You elected us to serve as your executive branch of this town government with the solemn duty of protecting the town's assets, our people, and our property. The town has the power to sue and be sued, and the Select Board is conferred with the authority by our town charter and Mass General Law to exercise those duties as the town's agent and to authorize expenditures from our legal fund accordingly. Potential and existing legal matters are always discussed in executive session, and deliberation on bringing a legal action with advice of counsel is privileged and inappropriate for an open meeting. Once a matter is in litigation, the board is limited by the constraints of litigation in its ability to comment, which is a notable and admittedly uncomfortable exception to our framework of open government. And so we are charged with the duty of protecting the rights of this town. In this instance, we also have a local business, which is the last working farm in Westwood. I am mindful of the values we have espoused in Westwood's comprehensive plan, which specifically prioritizes preservation of our natural resources and open space. Open space like our 500 plus acres at Hale and the Bean Farm, neither of which are protected, but both of which are tremendously important to the character of our town. Preserving farmland is also consistent with the Massachusetts Farmland Action Plan, which has partnered with the Massachusetts Land Trust Coalition to encourage land trusts like Westwood's to prioritize the protection of farms, to encourage private leases and enhance farmland so as to sustain family farms, preserve our rural heritage, mitigate climate change, and feed the local community.
1 minute remaining.
While the DEC action filed in July of 2025 remains pending, as previously reported, we are now actively working with the Land Trust to reach a win-win solution. As is often the case after filing a legal action, dialogue which had stalled has now opened up. Regardless of the outcome of tonight's meeting, the Select Board will continue to work collaboratively and earnestly with the Land Trust toward a resolution of this matter. We have acted lawfully and in what we believe to be the best interest of the town, guided by our town's values. I thank you all for your engagement and for exercising your civic duty tonight for the good of Westwood and our democracy. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to proceed. First speaker over here, and then we'll have someone on this side. Now, Ms. Dempsey, you need the slides, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Are we ready to go on the slides? Thank you. My name's Nancy Dempsey, 29 Martingale Lane, president of the Westwood Land Trust. I'm an attorney and a long-term board member. Before I discuss the CR in the meadow, I want to say one thing. We don't need to fight each other. We're working with the Select Board to find a solution that will fully protect the meadow. Meadows are incredibly valuable, but will also support local ag. It doesn't have to be an either or. Please keep an open mind about that. You will see slides of the property that the Land Trust protects. with the last few focusing on Clapper Tree Meadow.
I'm sorry, Nancy, I got to interrupt. It's supposed to be 3 minutes per speaker, so I'll let you run down to about 1:50.
Oh,
It's an
okay.
error up there. I'm sorry about that, but
Okay,
it's 3 minutes
all
per
right.
speaker.
So Westwood would not, we've protected 12 properties, 220 acres, all at no cost to the town. We thank the 6 families who've donated CRs and our 800 donors. Westwood would not be the same without the land trust. A CR is not a contract. A CR is like an irrevocable charitable trust that a donor sets up for their land. Think of the trust that Isabella Stewart Gardner set up, directing that her home and paintings remain the way she left them. The McFarlands bought the property 25 years ago to preserve it as is. They recorded a CR and they appointed the land trust to enforce it. The land trust's role here is like that of a trustee. We're charged with protecting land as required by the CR. This CR says we can't allow a change that materially impairs the CR's purposes. We've done a lot of research, and the bottom line is that disturbing that meadow causes a material impairment and reduction in the conservation purposes that the CR is designed to protect. Yes, the CR, please know, CR does not list agriculture as a permissible use. The CR does have an exception that would allow the land trust to permit commercial ag.
1 minute remaining.
But only if the land trust determines first that ag would not materially impair the conservation purposes. Land trust has consulted with many experts. We do have our meadow consultant, Mark Cooperman, came to a Board of Selectmen meeting. He explained why ag would impair the meadow, and there was an opportunity to ask questions then, but people moved on. So that said, there are many ecological benefits of a conservation meadow, including biodiversity, carbon capture, water retention and filtering, and habitat for animals and pollinators. These are all well documented and scientifically proven. You don't need to see Cooperman's report for that. In sum, this meadow belongs to everyone in our town. To sacrifice it now breaks faith with the donors who protected it and with those who will inherit this land in the future. Thank you.
Now we'll have a speaker over here.
Yes, Brian Kelly, 90 Church Street. Thank you very much. If you could put up slide 44, I believe it is, so we can see what's the property we're talking about. Okay, so just so everybody knows, the property that's the subject of this dispute is the former Prout farmland. It's about 8 acres of a 23-acre parcel. It's right behind the Veen Farm. It's essentially landlocked. I know there's a video going around that shows children frolicking in the meadow. No child has ever frolicked in that meadow. It's landlocked. It's a staged video designed to manipulate the vote tonight. But I think when you hear the litany of meetings discussed by our select woman, it is preposterous to suggest that they have not had transparency in this process. What's going on here is a small group is unhappy with the particular decision by this selectman. Now, that's not, we should not find ourselves in a spot where, as a town, we have special town meetings every time somebody gets upset over one decision. These things cost money. We have a regular town meeting in May. If we want to hash this out, we should have done it then. You've heard this, the litigation to date. The litigation that's being complained about has cost about $15,000 to date. This town meeting cost about $30,000 of our money, and it's all non-binding. So we gather together in the dead of winter to vote on non-binding petitions because why? Are they afraid they're going to lose the declaratory judgment? I don't know why, but it's a lot of money. Our schools could use the money. Our police could use the money. Our fire department could use the money. We could use that $30,000 to have a Super Bowl party for the town. It would be better spent. But in terms of procedure, if you want to reject these petitions, as you heard from the outset from the moderator, vote yes. Follow what the FinCom said. They said indefinite postponement. So if you vote yes on indefinite postponement, it kills these petitions. Okay, so that's what you should do when the vote is called, and that's what we would recommend. Now, with respect to the merits of this proposal, There's a lot of people who will speak to that. We're on the clock, so I'll just cut to the chase. This is in litigation, but the bottom line is this. The property, the land, belongs to Westwood. It's Westwood property. There's a conservation restriction on it that permits in certain circumstances agricultural use. Our own Conservation Commission, Westwood's Conservation Commission, voted 5-0 to recommend it. But the Westwood Land Trust has refused all efforts to reach an accommodation. That's why there's litigation. The litigation was forced upon the town. The selectmen didn't run out and say, hey, let's file a lawsuit and waste money. It was forced upon them. And that's why we're here. And that's what we have to do. Wait till the court decides. And, you know, that's the way we decide things in a civilized society. We'll let the judge decide if there's a legal dispute. And that's what we have to do. So the final slide is number 45, and that's what I'll leave you with. Thank you.
Please. Okay, I recognize the speaker. We're going to take a couple of more speakers, and then we'll get to the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Dan Bailey, 29 Martingale Lane. I am the attorney for Duncan and Ellen McFarland on this matter. We haven't heard their name yet. I think most of the people in the room understand that Duncan and Ellen are the people that bought this property back in 2001 and donated it to the town and placed the CR on it. I am a land use and environmental lawyer in Boston for almost 40 years, and I head the land use and real estate practice at Pierce Atwood LLP, one of the top-rated land use firms in Boston. I do have some good news. I'm probably the last or close to the last lawyer you're going to hear from. So maybe it'll be a little more colloquial after me. So I also want to say that until 6 months ago, I was special real estate counsel to the town of Westwood. I worked with the town, and especially the select board, for over 20 years on University Station, the Islington redevelopment, and other projects, including the Pine Hill School development. I resigned all my connections as attorney for the town when the select board sued the land trust. Oh, one thing I forgot to say, I'm Nancy Dempsey's husband. It pains me to have to appear at town meeting in opposition to the town. I'd like to respond to a couple of the things that Ms. LeBlanc and Mr. Kelly stated. First of all, Mr. Kelly inferred that the land trust had something to do by saying they were afraid of the DJ action. The land trust had something to do with this town meeting. It did not. I counseled the land trust and the McFarlands not to bring a special town meeting petition. So I don't want to hear that one more time. It's absolutely untrue. Second, I want to thank Mary Ann LeBlanc for asking for some civility. My wife has been the recipient of some of these personal attacks, and it's outrageous. So thank you, Mary Ann, for standing up for the other side. I really appreciate that. Now I want to get to what I originally meant to say. So I want to make
1 minute to do that.
Yeah, well, I can be fast. I want to make 3 points. The first is, if not for the McFarlands purchasing this land for $2.8 million in 2000, none of us would be here tonight. Instead, the land would be dozens of condominium units. There would be no meadow and no view, and the traffic on Clappertree Street would be much worse. In a few minutes, Ellen McFarland will explain why she and Duncan acted to save this beautiful property. And I assure you, it was not so that it could be used for commercial purposes. One more point. I'm going to skip the middle one. All conservation restrictions have to be approved by the town. And the Westwood Select Board indeed signed this CR in 2000. In doing that, the Select Board accepted that the land trust would be the guardian of this land. For almost 25 years, prior Select Boards respected that authority. In fact, in 2017, the Beans met with the town administrator, a member of the Select Board, and a representative of the land trust to discuss potential farming. The land trust said no, and the town respected that decision.
3 minutes is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody on this side?
Good evening, Mr. Moderator. I'm Peter Fenn. I live at 53 Milk Street in what's called the Whiting Farm, one of the last operating dairy farms in this town. I have some bad news. Dan's not the last lawyer you're going to hear from tonight, but I may be. I've been an environmental, conservation, land use lawyer for 45 years. I've counseled and represented dozens of land trusts, landowners. I've sat on the boards of land trusts. This has been my life, conservation. I want to say, first of all, farming can be conservation. These uses are not mutually exclusive. That's point number one. Point number two, The land trust has the right to approve farming. Farming is an allowable use under this CR, subject to their approval. The key word here is reasonable approval. It can't be unreasonably withheld. They haven't sat down and talked about what their reasons are, other than say we think it will materially impair the conservation values. Let's hear why. Let's have a discussion. Let's go to mediation. Let's work this out as neighbors. I'm very impressed that 800 people have come out here tonight, but that's not necessary. The parties should sit down and try and work this out in a win-win situation. This was not a meadow until it was farmed. It was probably farmed for 250 years. If it's not mowed and hayed now, it will turn back into scrub and forest land. That's not what we want. If this is preserved as open space and the bean farm is preserved as open space, they enhance each other. We need more open space, not less. Now, the town did not bring this litigation for the beans. The town brought it because it wants to enforce its own real estate rights. It seeks a declaration from the court as to what those rights are. Nothing more, nothing less. Perfectly permissible. It's not on behalf of the beans, but let's talk about the elephant in the room. If the beans cannot sustainably farm this land,
1 minute left.
Their land will likely get developed. We'll see a bunch more McMansions. That will not enhance the conservation values of this meadow. There's a bunch of houses next door. They enhance each other. Let's find a way to preserve both of them. I want to speak only now to this meeting itself. This is not a meeting to decide whether farming is good or bad, or as to whether or not the land trust has made a good decision or a bad decision. This is a meeting trying to tell our select board, our executives, they should determine when litigation is in favor of the town. They're the executive of the town. If you don't like what they do, vote them out. Run yourself, but don't micromanage their litigation decisions. You cannot bring executive functions by massive town meetings. Trust them or don't trust them, but that's not what we should be doing. We should not be determining litigation by referendum. Thank you.
Okay, next on this side, we're going to take one on each side, and then I'll recognize a speaker. I see a lot of people lined up. At some point, if I determine that people are just repeating what's been said already, then I'll entertain a motion to move the question. You have a point of order? I beg your pardon? The motion on the floor is for indefinite postponement. Once people have had a chance to speak, then it will be brought. Somebody's going to move the question.
I move the question.
It's a little early to move the question.
My name's Ellen McFarland. I live at 299 Februarty Street. This is really hard for me. I don't speak at town meetings. I've never spoken at a town meeting. We moved to Westwood in 1972 because of open space. We love the fields, we love the forest, we love the woods. This was given to us by previous donors. We felt really obligated to pass this on to the next generation. We felt obligated to increase open space, and this is something we did. It wasn't easy. Prout Farm, you call it Prout Farm, we call it Clappertree Meadows. This was a hard parcel to win over. It wasn't just buying it. It was fighting for the development rights. We were sued by the developer. So it isn't just about the money we spent to buy it. It was the time and energy. And we weren't rich then. And this was a real stretch for us. I have friends who have survived heartbreaking events. Many of them have said, walking in the woods, looking at an open meadow, seeing a forest undisturbed has really helped them heal. And I know many of you have used the woods to have a good cry or get away from your pain and your suffering and things that are going on. I know I take a deep breath when I go by Gay Street and see the meadow, see the forest, and see these wonderful meadowlands. I love seeing the red-tailed hawks. I love seeing an otter poking its head up through the water lilies. I love hearing a beaver slap its tail. I wish I had seen a bobcat. I have a lot of things I've seen because Westwood treasures Lowwoods.
1 minute.
They treasure Senki, and they treasure Hale Reservation. I am not against farming. Just ask around the bend in Dartmouth, where we purchased 115 acres of land. Ask Urban Farm Institute in Mattapan, where their motto is, we grow people and food. Ask Redgate Farm in Buckland. These are the Massachusetts ones. All of them will tell you we are unique in our support of growing and feeding communities. I believe in leaving Westwood a better place for those creatures who can't speak for themselves. And I want to live in a town that respects the environment, supports the food bank, helps increase affordable housing, and is proud of having the first Habitat for Humanity house. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Charles. Do I start talking?
Ready, Ms. Bean?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, just tell us your name and your address, please. Then you can
Eleanor Bean, 711 Clapboard Tree Street. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I would like to start by giving a very brief history of how the Bean family farm came to be. In the summer of 1961, I stopped to buy sweet corn from a young man selling corn on Route 109 near the Westwood Center. He introduced himself as Charles Bean, and little did I know that I would hang up my nurse's uniform and put on a green apron when we married years later, and I became a farmer's wife. Thank God. We raised 4 great sons, all in Westwood, and I have lived in Westwood for 59 years. Charlie approached the owners of 711 Clapboard Tree Street in the 1950s to farm the property. They were more than pleased to have the land farmed with no restrictions, no exchange of money, but yes, some vegetables. Thank you. When they were ready to downsize, they made us aware and wanted us to buy the property. This would be the most difficult financial undertaking of our lives. But a bank had faith in us, and in 1971, we bought the property. Every one of us planted, watered, weeded, picked vegetables, and waited on our faithful customers. Charlie farmed sustainably, well before organic was the buzzword, never using any harmful pesticides. He wanted our children to grow up eating healthy.
1 minute.
Which our grandson Christopher has continued as a sustainable farmer today. Fast forward 25 years later, in the late 1980s, our neighbor's land, known as Prout Farm, was slated for development. A developer from Boston arrived at the Bean Farm, hoping to also buy our land. My husband was extremely upset, to put it mildly. Land meant everything to him, and he would often state one thing: they don't make any more land. Subsequently, he rallied the neighbors, and because I'm going to lose some time, I'm going to go beyond the Westwood Preservation Society. My husband was a man of personal integrity and character, a very principled man, hardworking, genuine, trustworthy, liked people, and they liked him. He served on the Westwood FinCom, the Norfolk County Farm Bureau, as president of the Massachusetts Farm Bureau, and a board member of the State Conservation Commission. Unfortunately, this issue has brought out some very passionate arguments on both sides. Yes, my husband was thinking that...
Okay, time's up.
Okay, because there wasn't a next generation to do time. My husband passed away almost...
Okay. At this point, I'll entertain questions. Does anybody have a question? Well done. Gentleman in the back.
Sorry.
My name is Greg Rozalski, 93 High Rock Lane. I have 2 questions regarding government procedure that I believe relate to this matter. As this matter, I believe, also is indicative of transparency. One would be, what would it require to alter the charter of Westwood's town governance to allow for the notes of the executive select board's meetings to become public if requested? And second, what would be the requirement and how would it work to basically do a recall election for the select board?
I'm going to rule those questions out of order. Are there any other questions? I have a question. Okay, gentlemen.
David Russell, 23 Highview Street. I've heard it said that this parcel is landlocked, but I see there's a little bit of it that's right on Februarty Street. So could someone explain to me whether there is or is not access? Can I park my car on Februarty and walk into the meadow, or can I not do that?
Anybody can answer that question? Any town official prepared to answer that question? No? All right, are there any other questions? Oh, we got.
Hi, my name is Diane Hayes, and I live at 84 Magnolia Drive. I am a former member of the Conservation Commission. I wasn't aware of any authority that the Conservation Commission had as far as voting on the use of property with conservation restrictions. Is that defined somewhere?
Can we get a microphone?
Pat Ahern, 103 Church Street, Town Council. The land was placed under the care, custody, and control of the Conservation Commission. It was done, I don't remember when, but by town meeting vote. So therefore, we went to them to seek permission to exercise the agricultural exception. They granted that to us on a 5-0 vote, I think it was in January of 2024. So that's what the Conservation Commission's authority is.
I have a question. Is there anybody in the room who hasn't made up their mind yet? Are we ready to move the question? A motion to move the question requires a 2/3 vote and goes to, there's no discussion, it goes to immediate vote. All in favor of moving the question, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. It appears to be a 2/3 vote in favor. It is a 2/3 vote in favor, so now we're ready to vote. The motion before town meeting is that town meeting indefinitely postpone Article 1. Go back one slide. Right here. So, if you are in favor of indefinite postponement and you are against the article in question, you want to vote yes. If you are against indefinite postponement and you would like to vote on the article, vote no. And we're going to open the vote now, and we'll go as long as it's necessary until everybody's vote is tabulated. Peter, you get somebody right in the front says this isn't working. We have one voter who's not sure his click is working. We have another one? see one over here, one over here. Anybody else? I see three. And indefinite postponement requires a majority vote. We had three, Peter. Woman right in the middle on the bleachers. Right in front of the flag, second row. Can you raise your hand if your device didn't work? Is yours working, ma'am? All right. I guess everybody now satisfied that the vote has tallied? All right, let's reveal the results. Okay, indefinite postponement has failed. Is there a motion to take positive action on the article? Is there a second? All right, is there any discussion on Article 1? Are we ready to vote on Article 1?
I have a statement from WEAC.
Point of order. Go ahead, Ms. Aramo.
I would just like to know whether or not you can walk into that land from Februarty Street.
Okay, please direct the comments towards the moderator. Ms. Aramo. Are we ready to vote on Article 1? Is there a motion to move the question? Okay, I guess there isn't, so we'll go back over here. Do you have a point of order, or do you have a point of order? No, at this point, we don't have a motion to move the question, so we're now discussing Article 1. This gentleman will be the first to go.
Thank you. My name is Matt Eckerly. I live at 19 Westland Ave. I'm the chair of the Westwood Environmental Action Committee, and I'm speaking on behalf of WEAC members. On WEAC, we serve as an advisory committee to the Select Board and make recommendations on sustainable environmental actions and policies for consideration by the Select Board. Why should we protect Blackboard Tree Meadow? This land has unique value because of the habitats it protects and the wetlands it contains. The meadow sustains a variety of wildlife and a large number of pollinators, including bees, butterflies, birds, and small rodents. Pollinators fertilize plants, helping grow seeds, fruits, and new plants. The Clapboard Tree Meadow's wetlands help regulate water levels, which reduces the risk of flooding. It is a vital ecosystem that attracts many useful animal species. In contrast, the perfect lawns of many Westwood houses come at considerable environmental costs, one of which is loss of biodiversity, including pollinators. In terms of ecological impact, modern agriculture is much more like maintaining a perfect lawn than a natural meadow. If crops are grown, we can infer that herbicides and pesticides would be used. This would permanently damage the ecosystem. If the land is to be used for grazing, there are different issues. Runoff from pastures introduces excess nutrients and bacteria into the soil and wetlands, leading to habitat destruction. To our knowledge, no evidence has been provided that efforts will be made to mitigate the effects of grazing with proper management, nor that herbicides or pesticides will not be used. We are thankful that the McFarlands had the foresight to put this land under conservation restriction and donate it to the town. In the CR, agriculture is listed as an exception, not an allowed use. We thank the Land Trust for fighting to conserve the meadow in its natural state, and we acknowledge the voters at the 2001 town meeting, Article 33, who unanimously approved that said land is to be used for conservation and passive recreation. Those are quotes. We owe it to those who will come after us to protect the clapboard tree meadow. Please vote to drop the lawsuit against the Westwood Land Trust and preserve this precious land as natural habitat. Thank you.
Call the question.
Let's get one more speaker, and then I'll entertain a motion to call the question.
Good evening, Chuck Bean, 700 Clapboard Tree Street. I'm here to set the record straight because there's a lot of misinformation out there. Back in the late 1990s, my father, Charlie Bean, founded the Clapboard Tree Preservation Society. He was the president. He introduced the McFarlands to the prospect of preserving the land at Prout Farm to prohibit a large-scale condominium development. My father was responsible for introducing the McFarlands to this property, and he designated Duncan as the treasurer. Duncan and Ellen McFarland ultimately purchased the Prout Farm, placed it into conservation, received a tax deduction, and transferred ownership of the land to the town of Westwood, subject to a conservation restriction overseen by the newly formed land trust. My father had one simple request, that agriculture be allowed on the 8-acre field that you saw up on the screen. I was present, along with my mother, when my father requested the agricultural uses used be drafted into the CR document. It was fully reviewed, agreed upon, and signed off by the 3 members of the select board and Duncan McFarland at the time. There was never any discussion of a meadow. The CR doesn't even mention the word meadow, but it does refer to prime agricultural soils. The intent was conserving the land from development, which the McFarlands helped us accomplish. We're grateful for that, with an anticipated future agricultural use. In fact, a few years later, Mr. McFarland's attorney contacted me looking for 37 feet of frontage and some land down by our pond adjacent to a property he owned at the time that my son now lives in at 682 Clapboard Tree for a phantom development. The only reason why we granted that access was because Mr. McFarland honored my father's request of putting agricultural uses in the CR across the street. Not one member of the current land trust or the McFarland's current attorney, Dan Bailey, husband of the current land trust president, Nancy Dempsey, were ever present or involved in any of these negotiations or discussions.
1 minute.
I'm a man of my word. Facts matter, legal documents matter, people's words matter, and I stand behind mine. I also stand in full support of the select board because I know firsthand how difficult it has been to work with the land trust over the years. Not one person in this room wants this litigation, but after years of trying to find common ground or compromise, the town has had no other options but to turn to the courts to clarify their legal rights as landowners. People have this wrong. We are not here because of the select board's actions. We're here because of the land trust's inactions. I vote with the FinCom for indefinite postponement on all 4 articles. Thank you.
All right. Is there a motion to move the question? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of moving the question, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. It appears to be a 2/3 vote in favor. It is a 2/3 vote in favor. So now you're voting on Article 1. We're not voting indefinite postponement. We're voting to see whether the town will so recommend. The voting is now open. Before I close it, everybody understands what you're voting. If you're in favor of the article, vote yes. If you're against the article, vote no. Is everybody satisfied their vote has tallied? Okay, there's no quantum on this. We're going to reveal the votes, and you can interpret them any way you wish. We're now moving on to Article 2. I'm sorry? Was there a question? Okay. Article 2, by prior arrangement, I am permitting Ms. Sibley 5 minutes, Ms. LeBlanc 5 minutes, and then we'll go back and forth on either side until you're ready to vote. There is a motion to call the question. Is there a second? All in favor of calling the question, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. It appears to be a two-thirds vote in favor. It is a two-thirds vote in favor. So now we're back to indefinite postponement. If we can have the indefinite postponement slide. It's before you on the motion of FinCom that town meeting indefinitely postpone the article. So we have to vote on that first. The vote is now open. Pardon me? Can we get the this one back up?
Question.
Who's asking? I can't hear. I'm sorry. I can't hear. Yes, we're trying to get that slide back up right now. Motion before you is for indefinite postponement. We have to do this on all 4 articles. We cannot dissolve the meeting until we've voted on all 4 articles. So I'm looking for the indefinite postponements. No, the explanation, explanatory slide. This one. This right here. There we go. So if you're in favor of indefinite postponement, vote yes. If you're against indefinite postponement, vote no. If you're in favor of the article, vote no. If you're against the article, vote yes. The voting is open. Can we get that? Okay. Wait, point of order. The article, indefinite postponement is a majority vote. Indefinite postponement failed to get the majority vote. Article 1, there's no quantum of vote. It doesn't pass, it doesn't fail. You can interpret the results any way you wish. We announced the voting tallies. Is everybody satisfied their vote has tallied? Who feels their vote has not tallied? Appears the voting is over. Is there a motion to take favorable action on the article? Is there a second? Is there a motion to move the question on Article 2? Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. It appears to be a unanimous vote in favor. It is a unanimous vote in favor. So now you're voting on Article 2. The vote is open.
I know what you mean. They just
Okay. These are non-binding articles. So it's not a mandate to the select board that they take action. The select board can follow the vote. They don't have to. Essentially, it's a straw poll of people who've come out of their homes on a Monday night in February when the temperature is 20 degrees. So there is no quantum. Point of order? Yeah, that question's out of order. Is everybody satisfied their vote has tallied? I guess it's still going up. Does anybody feel their vote has not tallied? All right, let's reveal the vote.
Mr. Moderator,
We're now on Article 3.
I would like to make a motion to reconsider Article 1, please.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to reconsider Article 1. Is there a second?
Second.
Reconsideration requires a two-thirds vote. We can discuss a motion to reconsider. There's a motion to move the question. Is there a second? All in favor of reconsideration, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. It appears to be short of the required two-thirds vote. It is short of the required two-thirds vote. Reconsideration has failed. We ready to discuss Article 3? We voted on Article 2, right? Okay. Are we ready to move the question on Article 3? Is there a second? All in? Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'd like to address several of the specifics within the warrant articles and other questions that have been directed at my colleagues and me on the Select Board. Throughout the petitioner's testimony regarding her reasons for taking the step of calling this special town meeting are accusations of a, quote, lack of transparency, that we fail to listen to residents and do not engage in dialogue. I would like to remind everyone that every one of our meetings is available for viewing on Westwood Media Center's YouTube channel. Every one of our agendas must be published in advance with the topics to be covered, and if and when executive session is to be used, we must include the topics that will be discussed in executive session. Prior to going into executive session, we have to state the topic and why executive session is being appropriately invoked. We properly posted, announced, and entered executive session 7 times in the span of the 14 months in the timeline that Mary Ann had laid out on this particular topic prior to actually filing suit. The accusations of lack of transparency only arose after we were left with no other avenue than to seek a court ruling on the interpretation of the language in the conservation restriction. The petitioner's articles seek to dictate to the Select Board how we execute our duties as the executive branch. As you had heard from the moderator and from town council and outside counsel Goldberg, the legislative body, town meeting, cannot direct the executive body in carrying out their function. As the moderator has stated, all of these articles are non-binding on the Select Board. Our form of government doesn't survive without the tireless dedication of volunteers to the many boards and committees in town, whether elected or appointed. To those few who currently serve in such a capacity, thank you for your time, your talent, and your thought. We extend an open invitation to all.
1 minute.
Come be part. I would ask for a little latitude because I'm answering questions.
It sounds like you're arguing. Yeah, no, you're arguing on the articles, so it's not answering the question.
I'm answering a question as to transparency, sir.
You got 30 seconds to go, Mr. Gotti.
We continue to give an enormous amount of time, thought, and energy towards helping facilitate reasonable neighborly solutions where we can. As I said at our January 5th meeting, we are regularly approached by residents and business owners seeking help in navigating or resolving issues. In fact, at the FinCom meeting on these hearings, I walked into the library, was greeted by a resident who wished me a Happy New Year, followed by, "I could use your help on an issue." In every one of these instances, my colleagues and I listen thoughtfully,
3 minutes,
helping
sir.
facilitate thoughtful discussion and explain.
Is there a motion to move the question? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of moving the question on Article 3, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Appears to be a unanimous vote in favor of moving the question. I forget, are we on indefinite postponement right now? Okay. So I'll open up the vote on indefinite postponement. Okay, we've got a couple of people. Anybody else feel their vote has not tallied? While we're waiting for that, someone found a key fob, car key fob in the parking lot. It'll be out at the desk if you're missing it. If we don't hear from someone, we'll give it to the police. I guess it's a Ford key fob, if that helps.
Ice.
Did his vote tally, Peter? Peter, can you bring some extras so you don't have to keep running?
For this temporary people? People did?
All right, now is everybody satisfied? All right, let's release the votes on indefinite postponement. Yeah. All right. Indefinite postponement has failed. Is there a motion to move the article? Is there a second? Is there a motion to move the question? Is there a second? All in favor of moving the question, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Appears to be a two-thirds vote in favor. It is a two-thirds vote in favor, so now you're ready to vote on Article 3. It's open.
I thought I was.
I see people leaving. Remember to turn in your voting devices as you head out. So everybody's satisfied their vote is tallied? All right, let's release the vote. We have 446 in favor, 205 against. Now on to Article 4. Article 4 again comes before you on the recommendation of the Finance and Warrant Commission for indefinite postponement. Is there a motion to move the question? Is there a second? All in favor of moving the question on Article 4, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. It appears to be a two-thirds vote in favor of moving the question. It is a two-thirds vote in favor of the question. So now, again, we're voting on the motion for indefinite postponement. The vote is open. Is everybody satisfied the vote is tallied? All right, let's release the vote. What? Wait a minute, hold on. I think, okay. Indefinite postponement has failed. So now we have one more vote, or two more. We're voting on the substance of Article 4. Is there a motion to move the question? Is there a second? All in favor of moving the question, say aye. Opposed, say nay. Appears to be a unanimous vote in favor. It is a unanimous vote in favor. Again, it's the motion for indefinite postponement, so let's open the vote. That was, so now we're ready to vote on the substance of the article. Okay, thank you. The vote is open. You're voting on the substance of the article. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Is everyone satisfied their vote has tallied? All right, let's release the vote. All right, I want to thank everyone for behaving. The decorum was pretty good. Is there a motion to dissolve special town meeting? Is there a second? All in favor of dissolving this special town meeting, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Town meeting is dissolved.